importance. And the second approach is to work on uncovering these groups and isolating these groups and dismantling these groups and arresting these groups and eliminating these groups. This is the way they work in the world, and this is also standard procedure. People shouldn't wait and see to say we are waiting, we have checkpoints, we have taken measures, we are inspecting, when will the car bomb come to us, or when will the suicide bomber come to us. Security services which have responsibility must go and look for these suicide bombers, these groups preparing the car bombs and preparing explosives. Who are they, in order to arrest them and prevent the car bomb from being sent, prevent the suicide bomber from coming in the whole world. This is how you combat terrorism. And so the second approach is also required. And this calls for efforts from all sides, very, very high efforts, strong efforts, security-wise, people-wise, politically-wise, and technically-wise. And so when we speak about the necessary cooperation, we also speak about the importance of not covering these groups and not protecting them politically or security-wise, and not defending these groups, and not saying these groups are innocent, and not dealing easily with them, not for our sake, not for the sake of Dahi in southern Beirut, for the sake of Lebanon, because these groups want to drag Lebanon into destruction. They want to drag the Lebanese people into a civil war. And you must prevent Lebanon from being dragged into a civil war. And this is the way to do it. Also, in the same context, I'm not going to say first, second, and third. In the same context, also, we must put a stop to sectarian incitement. There is a political conflict between us. Leave it political. Let's speak politically. Let's attack one another politically, because the call for calm isn't working. People, will stop being paid if there's a stop to this. And if they don't curse on TV, if they don't write articles with insults in newspapers, they're not paid. So, okay, get paid, get your salaries. Curse politically wise. However, the issue of Sunni, Shia, and religious sects, leave this aside. Abstaining from sectarian incitement, and also not only condemning the massacres when the massacre takes place. This is what is required, generally speaking, in confronting directly the enemy to achieve this goal. There is something which was required from the people. People also. I want to speak to the people now. I want to say a few words to the people, and then I'll say a few words to the killers. What I say to the people, especially those who were harmed yesterday and their families, those who were targeted yesterday and their families, and now all of these areas are under a threat. They are confronting a threat. We know your patience, and we know your courage, and we know your vision, and we know your nature. This is not my own feelings. This is something which we felt over tens of years. And the biggest test was in the July 2006 war, during these very same days. The reaction of these people at the end of the war and after the war ended, when they came back to their homes and found their possessions and their farms and their homes and their shops destroyed. And our experience together in the most difficult circumstances. They want to nail your determination. They want to nail your will. They want to nail your faith. They want to nail your commitment to this resistance. And we are all confident in your faith and your commitment and your patience and your readiness for sacrifice. And so this goal will fail. They won't achieve it. You always prevented this goal from being fulfilled, and you will do the same in the future. However, what is more dangerous I am one of the colleagues in Hezbollah. I told my brothers that I am not afraid. I'm not afraid when it comes to the commitment of the people, or the patience of the people, or the will of the people, or their determination, or their holding on to the resistance. Because we all saw the people held on to this resistance after July 2006 more than they did at any time before. These people are as such, are of this nature. But what we are afraid of, my dear people, and this is one of the aims of the killers and those who stand behind the killers, what we are afraid of is that you be dragged into hasty reactions which are not calculated, which lead to sedition and lead to the sabotage of the country. This is something we must be aware of. Until now, the situation is okay. Until now, people are holding on to their pains and sorrows, and it's okay. And we must continue to hold on, to control ourselves. What do they want to say? Of course, I will list the names, and allow me to speak frankly. When I say names, or Lebanese, Syrians and Palestinians, they will be stated according to religious sect. Some people will say that the Sunnis are the ones who targeted you in Dahia, and that the Sunnis are the ones who planted the bombs, and the Sunnis are the ones who sent car bombs to Dahia, southern Beirut, and committed the massacre yesterday. Everyone who speaks in such a language is an Israeli and is a partner of the killer in achieving the goals of the killing and of the massacre. And I take responsibility for what I say. Those killers aren't Sunni. They have no religion whatsoever. They have no religious sect. They have no nation. They have no affiliation. They are not Syrian, nor are they Palestinian, nor are they Arab, nor are they Muslims, nor are they Sunni. They are killers. Killers. They have the thinking of killers. And they killed Sunnis. As I said in previous speeches, they killed Sunnis more than they killed Shia. They killed Sunnis more than they killed Christians. If you want, I can provide you with numbers and statistics. They killed religious clerics from the Sunni sect more than they killed from the Shia sect. And I have numbers to support what I'm saying. And so what I call on our people in Lebanon, especially the Shia, despite the fact that yesterday in the explosion which took place, and at least according to the numbers we have, there is one Palestinian martyr, according to the first account numbers, and there is one wounded from the Sunnis. And this area in southern Beirut does include Sunni inhabitants. We have Sunni martyrs, we have Sunnis who were wounded, we have Palestinian martyrs, we have Syrians who were wounded in yesterday's explosion. So nobody can come and say that the Syrians did it, so we react against the Syrians in the country, refugees or displaced, their families and their children and their women. Or maybe this Palestinian person, some people are working, for example, are exerting efforts in order to create a conflict with the Palestinian refugee camps and the outskirts, and push the Lebanese into confrontation with the Palestinians, or push Palestinians into confrontation with Lebanese. This Palestinian who committed such an act isn't concerned with Palestine. The Syrian who committed this act isn't concerned with Syria. The same goes for the Lebanese person who committed such an act. These people are a group of takfiris whose hearts and visions are blinded, and they are killers. And they have a project of destruction in the whole region, not just in Lebanon. Look at what is going on throughout the region. Those people don't have any other project. They don't have any other agenda or speech. The only thing they have is destruction, killing, killing and killing. And I would like to assure you, our colleagues in Iraq, of course, our colleagues in Iraq speak when they want. The people in Iraq, our colleagues in Iraq, know the Western intelligence agencies and the Arab intelligence agencies and Israeli intelligence agencies who are controlling the killing groups in Iraq, and this will be also uncovered in Lebanon. So please, here, let us not fall into the trap, because then the blood of our martyrs will be lost. Allah says, do not increase the situation or do not make the situation worse. Sedition is worse than killing. Let us not resort to sedition. Let us not attack innocent people. Let us not hold innocent people responsibility for acts which they were not involved in, which they have nothing to do with. This is a very big responsibility which requires vigilance, wisdom. Nobody should drag us and drag you to such a place. And here, what I said between brackets, I want to say to the Ja'far family and the Amhas family, now it has become clear who killed your sons in Baalbek or in Hermel. This person was arrested, and he stated who were the other people. He uncovered the names of the others who were involved. And before that and after that, you must not hold people who have nothing to do with the killing responsible, and people who haven't been proven to be involved in this killing according to the investigation. And the highest level of responsibility and self-restraint must be exerted, because any irresponsible, illegitimate act from anyone, from the member of any family or any tribe in the northern Bekaa region, could lead to dangerous, bloody results. Today, I call on the people to show vigilance, patience, and I also send a clear message, just as our message is clear. Bombings and killings will not touch our will, and our message must also be clear that bombings and killings won't lead us to falling into the trap of sedition. However, of course, I once again say this is not the responsibility of us by ourselves. It's the responsibility of all of the people in Lebanon, because I repeat, and I don't like to lie to anyone, I repeat that if things continue in such a way, it could lead to severe repercussions. I say that, and to the killers I say, if you are working directly for the Israelis, okay, we know you and we shall know you. And there is a state which should arrest you and hold you accountable. And anyway, we will get you in the end. Our hands will reach you. If the state ignores you, we shall get you. We are not an alternative to the state, no, either in defending Lebanon or in anything else. However, in every phase or at any time where the state doesn't take its responsibility, I will say very clearly, we will take our responsibility. If you, the killers, and let me here be frank as well, if you allege or claim that you are defending, because you claim you're defending the Syrian people, do you want me to be any more clear? You say you might be punishing Hezbollah. This is an analysis. You might be saying that you're punishing Hezbollah for Hezbollah's intervention in Syria. Here I have 2 points. The first is that you, the Takfiri groups, you are the ones who cause the most sufferings amongst the Syrian people, not just against those who support the government, but even those against the Syrian government. You are the ones who cause most harm for the Syrian people. You, the Christian religious figures who support you, support the opposition, you're kidnapping them. You are the ones blowing up mosques. You are the ones killing children. You are sending car bombs to Syrian cities without taking account the casualties. Aren't you the ones doing this? You are the ones who claim that you are defending the Syrian people. You are the ones who cause the most killing and harm for the Syrian people. This is number one. Number two, when it comes to us, also, very frankly, we entered at one stage and into specific areas to fight in Syria. And for the first time now, I will speak with extreme clarity. Where we fight in accordance with our values, in accordance with our discipline. We never harmed the wounded. You harmed the wounded. We never killed a prisoner. And you make the prisoners stand on the walls and in front of cameras and execute them in broad daylight. We didn't kill civilians. We, in some of our battles, in order not to kill civilians, more resistance fighters were martyred because we abstained from civilian casualties. And what was said over the past few months on some Arab satellite media channels, what was said that we bombed and we killed and we committed massacres, all of this is a lie. Anyway, and let me here just give me 2 or 3 minutes more. In between brackets, and I know some of the colleagues will tell me why do I name, but I want a name here. We have Al Jazeera and Arabiya. I will name them. These two channels came together on Syria, they came together on Iraq, they came together on Iran, and they came together on us in Lebanon. And in the Arab world, they accepted what Al Jazeera and Arabiya was saying. Now, after the divisions in Egypt, after the divisions which we are seeing in Tunisia, after the divisions which we are seeing in more than one Arab country, Al Jazeera is with one group. I'm not going to evaluate in the media. Al Jazeera is with one group and Al Arabiya is with the other. Look at these two channels, they speak against each other. They state completely contradictory information. Here they say 50 people killed, on the others they say 100. Here they say people were killed, on the other channel they say the other. Now, this division between Al Jazeera and Al Arabiya in the Arab public opinion, some people still listen to Al Jazeera and curse Al Arabiya, and some vice versa, listen to Al Arabiya and curse Al Jazeera. Why do you accept those who object to Al Jazeera in Egypt or object to Al Arabiya in Egypt? Why do you accept what they say in Syria but don't accept what they say in Egypt? These media outlets, of course, we do have freedom of the press or the media. Unfortunately, over the past few years, the Arab media has reached a very low level, not of lying and distributing lies, but even fabricating lies. Fabricating lies. We, Hezbollah, when the day of judgment comes and we stand in the hands of God, all the witnesses will see, all the witnesses, the whole world will see that we didn't fight except the armed Takfiri groups. That's it, point. Now we go back once again. Anyway, you, the Takfiris, you're not defending the Syrian people. However, if you believe that by killing our women and by killing our children and by killing our innocent people and by your killing and by your destruction of our suburbs and our villages and our cities, if you believe that this could lead us to backing down or retrieving or backing down from a previous stance we have taken, you are mistaken. You stupid people, read, look at what has happened, look at our experience for 30 years with Israel. You are mistaken. I tell you that our response to any such bombings, our reaction to any such bombings, very frankly I say, if we have 100 fighters in Syria, they're going to become 200. And if we have 1,000 fighters in Syria, they'll become 2,000. And if we have 5,000 fighters in Syria, they're going to become 10,000. You are mistaken. You are striking the wrong place. You are striking the wrong place. And if the battle requires, if the battle with these Takfiri terrorists, if it requires from me and all of Hezbollah to go to Syria, then we'll go to Syria. We'll go to Syria just as we went for the sake of Syria and its people, for the sake of Lebanon and its people. I swear to God, for the sake of every Lebanese, for the sake of every Muslim and Christian who are hiding behind their own fingers, hiding behind the truth, for the sake of Palestine and Al-Quds, for the sake of the central cause. And so, nobody should assume that if they open a battle with us, they will have the upper hand, they will decide the battle. We shall decide the battle. We will have the final say. We, on the 25th of May 2000, we fired the last bullet, and in 1996, in the Grapes of Wrath, we fired the last bullet, and on the 14th of August 2006, we fired the last bullet. And as we achieve victory in all of our wars with Israel, if you want us to enter this battle with all our force, I tell the Lebanese and the Syrians and the Palestinians and all the people of the region, we also will achieve victory in this battle against the takfiri destructive terrorism, God willing. And I am sure of what I am saying. This battle will be costly, yes. However, it will be less costly than being slaughtered like sheep, less costly than waiting for the killers and the murderers to come to our homes and to our houses. Of course, it's less costly. And we, in every battle, all of our battles are in defense of the dignity and honor and defense of the families and blood and existence. We are the men and women of this battle, and our children are big in this battle, and killings or blood won't deter us. We are those people who believe in the saying of the victory of blood against the sword. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Well, live there, a lengthy speech by Hezbollah's leader, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, a very informative speech about what occurred yesterday, which is that bombing in southern Beirut. This is live, of course, I should mention, from Aita al-Shab on the border with Israel, which is very significant since it marks the anniversary of the end of the 30-day war against Israel back in 2006. But let me just get right to it. He talked about the terrorist bombing, as I mentioned, condemned, first of all, the countries that had remained silent on this terrorist bombing. He said that its aim was not to target an institution or to target Hezbollah figures. Its sole aim was to destroy not only property in the area, but mainly to have civilian casualties and to kill people and to create the mayhem and havoc that it did create. He said, first of all, in terms of the media reporting that the bomb was 60 kilograms, it was more than that, at least a minimum of 100 kilograms. He said as long as there's a camp that does not yield to Israel and the international community, that the finger is going to be pointed at Hezbollah. They're going to target Hezbollah and the resistance. He also said that today he's going to point out to the person or group that's responsible for the bombing, not only the one yesterday, but also the one that happened in July. He said that there's been an arrest of one of the people associated with the July bombing, that the Lebanese security forces actually arrested that. And he said they are not spies for Israel based on information gathered. He said they belong to certain takfiri groups. Do they work for Israel? He said, of course they do. He said, we have no doubt that the American, Israeli, and regional intelligence have actually infiltrated into these types of groups like the takfiri groups. And he pointed out to what appears to be the consequence of some of the actions that these takfiri groups will take, aside from, at this point, targeting Lebanon. He said Lebanon right now is their target, but really the whole region is on their radar. And he said that if these bombings continue, Lebanon will be right on the cliff, on the edge of collapse. Regional countries need to take precautionary measures, such as checkpoints. And he said that the second approach, which is equal in importance, is obviously uncovering these groups, isolating them, and then eliminating them. And I'm just going to come to the end here, of which he said if we have 100 fighters or 200 fighters, they will become 1,000 or 2,000 fighters that will go into Syria. And he said, as a warning to these groups, that you are mistaking, you are striking the wrong place. If it requires for me and all of Hezbollah to go into Syria, we will do as such. And he included himself in that.